So, have you guys heard? We've been reporting on it, but now we're learning new details about those 3 UCLA basketball players who were overseas in China playing. They walked into a Louis Vuitton, shoplifted some sunglasses, and then the drama happened, right? And President Trump now is tweeting this morning because he had a conversation, or maybe a couple of conversations with the leaders over there, and got the boys off the hook pretty much. Now the boys are back in America, and President Trump is tweeting this morning. What specifically? Dina, do we have this tweet up now, or we can pull this up?
So let me ask, Producer Brady, do we have the slates of all of the graphics that we made this morning? Otherwise, I can pull it up on Twitter right now. But yeah, so the president, of course, was overseas in Asia on his trip and had a conversation, and ultimately that resulted in the boys being let back into this country. So I can't see it from where I'm sitting, but you can see the tweet.
It says, do you think the 3 UCLA basketball players will say thank you, President Trump? They were headed for 10 years in jail. That's what he tweeted this morning at 7:11 our time.
Okay, so we have a lot of people responding on Twitter. We can show you some of those in a minute, but a lot of people saying, really, an apology? This is not the right place for them to be saying thank you or anything to you back. Other people are saying you shouldn't have got them off the hook in the first place because then they'll never learn. So the conversation really has turned into not only should these 3 men have been brought back home without any punishment, but also does it bring about the conversation of knowing someone in a powerful position?
Right, and President Trump pretty much saying, hello, am I going to get the apology here? I did you all a favor, but like you're saying, not asking for, or not saying that you have to pay any consequences. I think this is a bad move. I mean, the boys, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but if they committed some sort of misdemeanor or crime or whatever, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to be penalized, but don't you think they should be penalized in some way, shape, or form?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, lucky for the 3 players that President Trump was in China at the time.
Right.
So he had to say something about that, and obviously he went to bat for the kids. Number 2, asking me, I think they should have said, hey, President Trump, if you were the one that got us home, that's real cool. Thanks for doing us a solid. All political things aside, hey, clearly if you're looking at doing this in China and looking at 10 years for stealing sunglasses, the president did you a solid by getting you out. Number 3, you have the president tweeting saying, hey, you guys should have thanked me. Not necessarily cool. I think the players should have probably said that, or now the players are back in the States, probably off the hook. They can then even say something like, hey, we don't even like you, President Trump. You didn't need to do that for us. I mean, it's like now they don't need, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a weird thing all the way around.
Yes. But we're reading that people have been punished in the past and taken off the team, right? For doing things, removed from their scholarship, for committing less of a crime.
Right. Well, they stole sunglasses, which is not a huge offense in the United States. This was not some bodily harm thing done. They are kids who should have known better that swiped sunglasses. I don't know what else they took or how many stores they were casing. They should have known better. But when you're overseas, and they probably didn't know this, if you steal things in China, you steal things in Singapore, you're caned. There are different countries that have different rules, and you shouldn't be doing that stuff anyway. So what's the punishment? What should happen here? These kids did this in a foreign country, brought extreme embarrassment to the program. I will tell you, if I were a fan in any gym that these UCLA players are going to be playing in, I would have a field day with these guys. And they're going to face this. I'd have people waving sunglasses at them or steal my seat. Or, I mean, these guys they are going to get it good. If not, they should. If they travel to Oregon, they travel to USC, I would have sections of fans just on them. And that's just how it works. That's how this works.
At the very least.
This is how this works.
Because that will end up being their punishment, because likely they'll get to stay on the team. They might be, suspended for a couple of games, but you think they'll stay. They
have to be suspended. Now, if UCLA is smart, what I think they can do is suspend all 3 players for the rest of the non-conference schedule. The warm-up games, I got Central Arkansas tonight, and reinstate them magically for the start of the Pac-12 schedule. That's the minimum of what should happen.
There were 3 star players. One of them being Lonzo Ball, who's now on the Lakers, his younger brother.
Yeah, so that's if UCLA were to say, hey, how can we penalize ourselves and the players the least amount without getting a lot of grief from the public, is let's suspend them up until the start of the Pac-12 season, 5-6 games. That's a lot, and then it won't really affect the team going forward with the Pac-12 schedule.
Well, Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott said in a statement yesterday morning, and we know today there's supposed to be a press conference on campus, but he said yesterday the matter has been resolved to the satisfaction of Chinese authorities. Went on to say, we are all very pleased that these young men have been allowed to return home to their families and to university. We are grateful for the role that our Chinese hosts played and for the courtesy and professionalism of the local authorities. We also want to acknowledge UCLA's significant efforts on behalf of their student athletes. Finally, we want to thank the President, the White House, and the U.S. State Department for their efforts towards resolution. So Pac-12 apologizing to Mr. President,
that sounds
not
a little,
enough.
That sounds a little soft to me, that statement. It almost sounds like, if I'm listening to that, it almost sounds like, wow, a lot of damage has already been done. Maybe going forward, we're okay now. We've really, if they don't suspend these guys for at least until the start of the Pac-12 season, people are, oh my gosh.
Can I share 2 comments that I found on Facebook this morning? One by a woman by the name of Sherry Terrell. She said many other student athletes have had their scholarships pulled for far less offenses. I will be deeply disappointed if these young men are granted the opportunity to remain on the team. She goes forward to talk about someone who she knew who was on the football team several years ago, was taken off for whatever reason, then had to go to a JC for a few years, and then ended up in the NFL. So clearly a good player there. But then someone responded back to her, Jonathan DeVoe said, hopefully they get to stay on the team. Not often brothers get to enjoy privilege. White kids have made all kinds of mistakes and gotten to have second chances. These brothers should get the same chances. So then it becomes a race issue.
I don't think
you could probably say that about anything, and I'm not saying one way or the other. There have been plenty of white kids who get booted off for doing stupid things. You know, and I'm not suggesting at all, and I would be shocked if these players were kicked off the team. Because if you want to look at it, this was not, I mean, sunglasses, number one. Number 2, I need a suspension. I need a suspension of these kids, and I'll be somewhat. But if you don't do anything,
setting the wrong precedent.
I'm not good with it. But these are star players. That's why they won't get kicked off the team.
But they're also role models, so they're teaching the younger generation that it is okay to shoplift, and it's okay because you'll probably get off if you know the right people.
Well, they're role models because they're playing for a prestigious university,
and also
and they're basketball players, and they're good basketball players, but they are young kids. So it's not like it's Tom Brady or NFL players who are into philanthropy and have corporations and all these things. Those are role models. And we could argue all day about athletes being role models.
Do we know if they're on scholarship?
Oh, of course. These guys are full rides.
I mean that's the part that I struggle with as somebody who is going to be paying loans for the rest of my life, probably my choice. But you are given an incredible opportunity to go play for one of the most incredible basketball programs in this country, and that's how you act on a foreign trip?
I don't think they feel. I think they feel if you're a star athlete at a college, you feel you've done the school a favor by going to play for them. I don't think these kids think of that at all. And I would tell you this about any star freshman players at any major university. They're not feeling that.
Well, maybe they should start thinking that, because there are a lot of people in this country who don't get to go to college for free.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's more than
they don't think that way these days. None of these kids do.
Just the college opportunity to play, like you said, one of the most prestigious basketball programs in the country at the collegiate level, but also understand that the Balls have a reality show right now. So it's on Facebook. It's part of Facebook's new streaming, or what is it, that where they have the original programming. Yeah, the Facebook Live. And it's a good little show. I've sat and I've watched some of the reality shows, but the son of, what's the dad's name? LeVar Ball, who's been very vocal. LeVar's son, yes, one of the ones who are getting in trouble now. Maybe were they doing this to be part of the reality show? I'm not saying it was set up with the reality show company, but I'm just saying when you're in a situation like that, were you doing other things when you were overseas to highlight your life, you know, as a student athlete and as traveling? And is this going to disrupt your opportunity with Facebook? Is Facebook going to do anything because they don't want to be connected with this?
This is publicity for the show. It's great publicity for the show. This will drive people to the show. Do I think he went and stole sunglasses to enhance the taping of the show? No, I do not.
Okay.
I just think that these are just kids and I have and I am no one to judge, and I don't have time to tell you the stuff I did when I was a freshman playing college basketball, because there's probably still a warrant out for me somewhere. But I would just say kids who are freshmen don't have perspective or understanding, or I didn't.
Okay,
and so
do you think them being let off will help them understand? Because I don't.
No.
So this is what I would like to see
I'm not
happen.
saying that they should do that at all. I agree.
What I think I would like to see happen, two things. One, suspension of at least 5 to 7 games.
Yes.
Regardless.
Yes.
Two, lose a scholarship for a semester. See how that feels. Try to pay your way through school.
You're still
Figure out
you're
how to
still
do that.
hung up on your college bills.
But
you
that's
are,
the point, though.
You are so mad about the fact that you still have payments
No, it's
in
not
college.
even.
You
It's
want
not.
that.
No. It's not because of me. But I'm thinking about. There are people who need to maintain certain grade point averages to keep scholarships, and then these kids are allowed to go do this and just keep riding this wave of I'm an athlete and I know people.
Well, you would hope that if this was any kid overseas, maybe they were just on a trip going overseas with the college, and that they had shoplifted and something were to happen. Do you think President Trump would have gone to bat for any American student?
It was a great coincidence
You
for
don't
these
think-
three
you don't
that
think-
the president happened to be in China at the time.
Correct,
If
but
he
I'm
were
saying-
not in China at the time, he would not be involved in this, and they would still be there.
And if he was in China at the time and it was not
An
a
athlete.
group of athletes, do you think President Trump would have gone to bat for 3 kids who were
No, not at all. I think that this
just
was
going to UCLA
this
and
was
overseas.
a highly publicized event, and he looked at that as I might be able to get a little mileage out of this too. I'm going to get these 3 kids out. There's an intense media coverage of these 3 basketball players.
So it all just lined
He
up
stepped in.
perfectly for
This
them.
couldn't have lined up any better for the 3 UCLA players, that the president was there and did this. And he's like, hey, man, how about somebody saying thank you? Or you'd be in
like,
doing.
I don't want to get lost in this story.
He just didn't need to vocalize it. If he did not tweet that, we probably would not be talking about it right now.
But
But what did I say
That's the way he
yesterday?
does
When the
things.
story happened, it was this idea of I don't know where the boys stand politically or where their families stand politically, but I would think they're very grateful for President Trump this morning.
Well, the Pac-12 commissioner, I think, reached out and said, we'd like to thank the
And he
president.
said that in the statement.
So he said that.
Okay.
And we're all playing what if. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to see what the conference, or specifically UCLA, does. And then we've got another extra shot down the road. If these kids don't have any suspension, there's going to be an avalanche of negative publicity at UCLA. And UCLA knows this. They need to do the minimum most, if that makes sense.
Maybe community service or
They
something
need to
they'll have to do.
suspend these kids as much as they can without it hurting the team in the conference schedule and their ability to get into the NCAA tournament. And you know that's what they're thinking. You know exactly that's what they're thinking.
How much control does the coach, like say if John Wooden was still there, would this be a different situation? Because he was all about those ethics and about you as a person and being and I don't know anything about this current UCLA coach, but does
Steve
the coach
Alford.
have any say in this, or is this a Pac-12 down to the program, down to the coach? Like
I think John Wooden, who was their coach in the 60s and 70s, and it was a different time.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he would have booted all 3.
That's what I think, right.
But that's a different time. That's a
Okay.
different time in America. Steve Alford is the coach now, and he's done a fantastic job there. And I think he is probably concerned. To what extent, I don't know. But he realizes this is a big picture thing for his university. And you can't have this. But again, he is also paid to win. And this is more on the president and the chancellor at the university to determine punishment. Steve Alford can stand back. He can only, this is out of, I will tell you, this is out of his hands.
Okay.
Out
That's
of
what I
his
was just
hands.
wondering.
This is a bigger thing than the coach.
if this was NBA, would this surprise you? The fact that they're
they'd
not
just
getting
pay a
punished. It's a
fine.
whole different game because
Yeah.
it's college,
They would
correct?
just take their 20 mil and be like, take 50,000. Here's the
Yeah, I don't know that NBA players need to be stealing sunglasses, and I haven't heard of that lately.
Did Ball. He's all popular now with Lonzo up at the Lakers and the family with the reality show. He didn't have to. It's not the idea a lot of times when people steal
Getting
things.
away
It's
with
not
it.
because you don't have the money per se. It's the thrill of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Can
like
I-
I said, I'm not going to get into the stuff I did
Can I
as a
read
freshman
what
in
the
college.
UCLA
Not
Chancellor
gonna
Gene
get into
Block
that.
said yesterday in
Sure.
a statement?
And then
Okay.
I've got a real good point
Okay,
to
so he
make.
said to the campus
How about our
community,
viewers, too?
when members of the UCLA family fail to uphold these values, we review these incidents with fair and a thorough process. In this particular case, both athletics and the Office of Student Conduct will review this incident and guide any action with respect to the involved students. Such proceedings are confidential, which limits the specific information that can be shared. So we're not going to really know anything. I know that they have a conference today.
Right.
And of course, perfect timing because it's going to happen before their first game against Central.
Their first
Arkansas.
home game against Central, because they played a couple of games in China. I think, this honor board, which is made up of students, they're tough. And I've seen them work stuff at Notre Dame and it's generally with players who have been caught cheating. And those players go away forever.
But isn't this a form of like cheating?
No,
I mean, you're
when you're caught, getting tests and cheating on your grades and all that, I think
cheating the system and the school education.
That's a bigger infraction to a major university than swiping sunglasses.
Okay, but
they throw you out of school if you're caught cheating on a test.
How about the professors who give these students passing grades when they're not doing well in school, like all these student athletes? Isn't that another topic that goes along with it, though, too?
Special treatment, you're saying?
Yeah, special treatment. That's
I don't
another
know.
issue.
I don't know. Dina, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
Okay,
I know you have these points.
I have 2 points. So one, I know the NCAA is a huge moneymaker for these universities.
Sure.
Not because the athletes get paid, but because when they win, they go to conferences, the schools get money out of it, the fans come to their games, they fill stadiums and arenas. It's good money. But I will remind you, 2% of NCAA athletes will go on to be drafted by the NBA when it comes to basketball. So these kids might be getting a pass now, but let's remind you, you're there for your education too. So if you're going to mess up your potential to play on this team, potential to get a scholarship to get your education, you might get saved because you were on the basketball team, because the president saw your story because you were on the prestigious basketball team. But when it comes to what's going to happen after this, I hope they learn their lesson, because this is something that will continue to be really coming down on them for a long time. Their names will always be associated with this when it comes to getting jobs, when it comes to careers later. Absolutely.
Was it one guy or three?
Three.
Okay.
But it's all the focus on Ball because he's the popular right now.
Did the 3 of them steal one pair of
I don't know,
sunglasses,
but glasses,
or was it one person who had
the
escaped?
$600 to $2,000.
The other 2 guys might be out scot-free. We may be looking at one player being suspended more than the other 2 if it was the one player of the 3 who actually walked out with the sunglasses. Aha!
Guilty by association, or who had the glasses in hand.
Hey, if I walked out of the store and I didn't steal anything, then why am I being suspended?
Right.
Or did they ever get out of the store with the glasses?
I believe so. Well,
or were they caught? Like
security cam got them.
So they have the glasses back.
I think they. Yes, I believe. Yeah, I would hope so. I haven't seen them return, but I would assume they're back.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how that got in my pocket. Dang. You know, I don't know how I made it back to my hotel room with these shades. That must they just jumped in.
I tried them on.
I don't know. Things got crazy in there. We're on different time zone.
Sticky
I didn't
fingers.
Know. Yeah,
Go ahead with some of the comments.
Danielle Brown is making reference to Ryan Lochte. Remember the swimmer, the USA Olympic swimmer.
But he full on made up a story, though.
True, but Danielle says it amazes me all the negativity these players are getting. The gold medalists didn't get this much negative press when they destroyed property and lied about a robbery.
Hold on. Ryan Lochte received as much negative press as anything I have ever seen. Ryan Lochte is disgraced. He's an adult. He fabricated a story, then lied about the story, about this whole thing.
And he made other people
to
lie
suggest
with
that
him.
Ryan Lochte did not receive as much negative press,
There's just been
disagree.
Time has passed and it's sort of been swept under
He did get to go on Dancing
now.
with the Stars, which was another point.
Yeah, because he was a grease fire, and they're looking for publicity and people, controversial people, to be on that show to generate ratings. But it doesn't mean he screwed up, and he got a lot of pub for that.
Yeah.
David Wong, they should not have stolen those things in the first place. As visitors to another country, they are our representatives. This is not the kind of impression we want out there, and they certainly should have to face some sort of punishment. Carol Olivia Victoria, Walt, he meant, I wonder how respectful thieves will be. Expensive sunglasses, they should know about China. Rotten punks.
Well, you know.
Tricia Palmer, stop calling them kids. They are thieves.
And adults, are they over 18?
I would assume they're 17 or 18. So I guess 18. I just referenced
Freshmen in college.
Freshmen in college.
Did you go back to your days in college and remember all of us?
You don't. You do not think of the big picture in the moment. You really don't, as a freshman or a sophomore in college.
Isn't that more reason to make this a learning experience?
Especially when you're with your buddies and you're being
They still
stupid.
need to be punished.
Well,
somehow.
learning in the sense that you need to. There's some ramifications for shoplifting.
Yeah, and but maybe they've been punished enough in the eyes of some because we're talking about them right now, and they got arrested in China, and maybe that's part of what will ultimately be their punishment.
And Tina McCoy says if that happened to the average Joe, we'd still be in China.
Of course.
So, yes.
I mean, there's no question
You
about
don't
that.
think President Trump would have
I don't think
freed
so.
just a
Freed anybody for stealing sunglasses in China?
UCLA
No.
student, an American who's
Just
in China.
for stealing?
No.
Students? I don't
No.
know. I don't know what his motive was. I don't.
His motive was he happened
was
to be in
there.
China, and it
Yeah.
was a huge
how about if he was
media
here in the
storm,
States?
and he got some love off it.
You don't think
I
that if
blame him.
President Trump was in the States and these UCLA players, this same situation had happened, but he wasn't there, you don't think he would have picked up the phone or made a call or do something?
No, it
agree.
was the perfect thing. He was in China when
was
the players got
having
arrested.
face-to-face
Other
time.
than that, everybody stays in jail or wherever they were.
Very,
The
very
story is very interesting in terms of
happening.
timing. Let's move on.